everyone, it's Sheri from the blog OurLifeHomeschooling.com, where I share homeschooling encouragement for everyday moms. I'm going to give you today an update on my pregnancy. I'm 35 weeks along, so this baby is coming in about 4.5 weeks. We're getting really close to the end, and I'm also going to be sharing with you our 2023 homeschool plans. So we are looking forward to meeting this little one in the next couple weeks. Should be about 4.5 weeks. I have never gone early. I always go after my due date. And if you want to hear more about this pregnancy, this is our 10th baby. You can listen to the video that I posted a couple months ago on my honest thoughts about expecting baby number 10. The last 4 weeks for me are definitely not easy. The beginning and the end are the hardest for sure. Especially the last couple weeks, I feel great in the morning, but at night just get so uncomfortable. And if you have been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I feel like when I was younger, my pregnancies were a lot easier and the babies were harder because I was just so unfamiliar with how to take care of a baby. And the older I get, the babies are easier and the pregnancies are harder. I feel like the babies are easier because they just seem so familiar. We're used to having a baby in the house, and the pregnancies seem harder because I'm older. I'll be 43 years old when this baby is born. It definitely feels different than when I was 25, but I can also say at the same time that I feel I have had a very healthy pregnancy. All my pregnancies have been really healthy, and I am very thankful for that. When I get to the end, I really try to remind myself, as uncomfortable as I get, and sometimes I can't sleep at night, the baby wakes me up. I wake up in the middle of the night, I have to go out and just walk around a little bit or get something to eat and go back to bed. When I get to this point where it's so uncomfortable and I have some miserable nights, I try to remind myself that my 9 months of discomfort is someone else's lifetime. So it really is short in comparison. It is worth it. This person, Lord willing, will live a long life, and we will get to enjoy this child, and it's so worth just these last few weeks of discomfort. So just trying to keep that perspective. It's not always easy to do that at the very end because as a mom, you can just become so short-sighted with some of the pain and just the weight of carrying the baby the last couple weeks. This is the time in the pregnancy when I definitely start to think about birth again, and I feel like it's really a frame of mind that you have to get yourself into and just prepare yourself for just focusing. I like to have scriptures that I focus on during birth, and also just relaxing your body and remembering that this is a very natural and normal thing for your body. So I feel like that is kind of weighs on me the last couple weeks, and the closer I get, the more I think about it and kind of get in that frame of mind of giving birth. My husband and I do very little to prepare for birth. This is our 10th child, so it feels really familiar to us. And the more kids we have, the less equipment we have. When we had our first, I had every new gadget that was out there. And now I've realized that really all your baby wants is you. So there's very little that you need. And I do set up a pack and play beside our bed, but the baby mostly sleeps in bed with me for the first several months. We have a car seat, obviously. When they get to about 6 months, then they transition to a crib. Right now, our daughter Holland is in the crib. She is 20 months, so she'll probably be in there for a little bit. And then when this baby is 6 months, we'll be transitioning her upstairs, and this little one will go in the crib. But other than a pack and play in our room for daytime naps or a car seat, I have a Moby wrap. I wear the baby a lot of the time. I find that with a large family, this is really an essential, and this is pretty much how we function, is for me to wear the baby. I also have so many baby holders. So last time we had Holland, I got out our little baby seat. We have a seat that, is in the kitchen or in the living room, and we'll just put the baby in it, a little bouncy seat. And I found that we hardly ever used it. I'll probably still get it out, but we just have so many people that want to hold the baby that it really doesn't get used as much as I plan that it will, and it just becomes something we're like tripping over in the middle of the room. So I had a friend give me all her 0 to 3 month clothes. So the baby has something new and fresh. The most important thing to me is that they have a sleeper, because I like to keep them in those cotton or fleece sleepers almost every day. Unless we go out somewhere, then I'll put a nice outfit on. But I just figure if I was a baby, I would want to be in my PJs all day. So I just like them to be comfortable more than fashionable. So the last couple weeks, I will just get out the clothes and make sure we have those ready. I like to we usually buy some frozen pizzas just for the time when my husband and I are both in the hospital for the delivery and my parents are here watching the kids, just so that there's something easy to make. But truthfully, our older girls and our boys are all very capable and like to cook. And so I don't feel like that's like preparing for food is something that's quite as crucial as it was maybe when our kids were younger. We usually buy a pack of newborn diapers the week before. I plan my hospital bag like a day or two before. And like I said, I never have gone early. I don't expect that I will. Because I'm 43, they want me to at least go by my due date. So we'll probably try to hold out to the end, and then they might schedule an induction. So this is where I am at 35 weeks. I am very excited to meet this little one. I feel a ton of movement, and it's just the closer you get, the more you feel bonded to your child, just because you feel them constantly moving in you. And we're just really looking forward to meeting this baby. I also want to share with you some of our 2023 plans for homeschooling. When we have a baby, in general, when my kids were very little, I definitely took a break. We didn't do school. We stopped, and I probably continued with reading aloud to them, and just basically did work as we were able or as they were bored and asked about it. But with having older kids that do so much of their work independently, it's just a lot easier for us when we have a baby to just keep going. So my younger kids will probably continue with that same plan of they'll do a little bit or do it when they ask about it. But the older kids will continue, because it feels kind of stressful on me to be here with the baby and for my older kids to have nothing to do. As long as they have their routines, their checklists, they can keep going on their own. That keeps them busy, and it just makes everything flow a lot more smoothly. So obviously having a baby in the middle of our school year is going to be a big change for us, but we have rhythms and routines in place that we've had for a long time. So I really don't think that it's going to be that big of a change for us. This is something that is really familiar territory to us. One thing that I would like to do this year that I feel like has kind of slipped by the wayside, I always read to my kids. I've always been a person who enjoys reading. I often will read before the kids get up, and again after the kids are in bed. But they rarely see me, other than when I read to them, they rarely see me reading for pleasure. So one goal that I would like to try to get better at is for them to see me reading. Every afternoon we have read aloud time, and right before that time We do usually about 15 minutes of them just quietly reading whatever book they're interested in at that time. And usually when they're doing this, I'm walking around getting something done. But I would like to use this time this year to read myself. I want them to come up and ask me, hey, what are you reading? Or, what's your story about? Or what's your book about? So this is one goal I have for this year, for my kids to see me reading a book regularly. I know it's probably not going to happen every day. Like I said, I read usually before they're awake and after they're in bed. But just to take a little bit of time to just sit down and read with them for myself for pleasure, I think is a good way to model to them what we are trying to tell them is important. As far as the kids, if you have listened to any of my other videos or read any of the blog, you're probably familiar with our regular routine. We pretty much have morning time, chores, the kids do their independent work, we have lunch, and then we have afternoon read aloud time. So some of the plans that I'm going to share with you for 2023 are not part of their independent work. I'm just going to be sharing mostly some things that I like to do in morning time and read aloud time. Now, the one thing that I would like to do differently this year for their independent work is to give my younger kids the winter themed copywork that I have created. You can find this free printable on the blog, winter themed copywork. This is about 6 to 7 weeks of copywork for elementary kids, all based around winter themes. All the selections in this copywork come from quality literature, picture books, chapter books, poets like Sarah Teasdale and Christina Rossetti, Emily Dickinson. And you can find this and get your free printable on the blog. For morning time, there are a couple things that I would like to do differently. If you've looked at my morning time videos or read the blog, you will know that we have some things that we do daily and some things that we do on a loop. So for the spring semester, one thing that I want to do is I want to focus on poetry. We didn't do any poetry in the fall. I like to study poetry by poet, so we're going to be looking at Emily Dickinson and memorizing some of her poems. Another thing that I like to do throughout the year, and I do it once a week, usually on Fridays, because Friday is the day when all my kids are here. If you have older kids, you know that it's a lot harder to do morning time or read aloud time because it's just hard to gather everybody. On Friday mornings, everyone is here, and so that's when I like to do our missionary biographies. Last semester, we read a biography, an autobiography by Hudson Taylor, and we studied his life in China. This spring semester, I would like to read George Mueller's autobiography. This is a book I read as an adult, and it was so life-changing for me. I've learned from homeschool moms that are ahead of me, and also from Cindy Rollins, if you're familiar with her, she wrote Handbook for Morning Time, that you should always read to your oldest child, and it will trickle down to the younger ones. You should always read up. So since we have a senior this year, I'm going to be reading George Mueller's autobiography, and it is definitely something that's more of a high school level, and so I am reading up. The younger kids get plenty of other read alouds, but for our missionary biography, I'm going to be reading this book. Another thing that we like to do is art study. I love these picture study portfolios by Simply Charlotte Mason. They do an excellent job. Last semester we did Jan Van Eyck, and this semester we're going to be doing Van Gogh. They have several art prints, you can see. And so we usually do about one a week. We'll do art study and we'll just take a look at this. I'll have them tell back to me. Whoops, this one's backwards. I'll have them tell back to me what they see. We'll discuss it. These art prints also come with a little book about Van Gogh's life. And it has It talks about doing picture study, kind of explains how to go through it with your kids, but it also gives a short narrative of his life, which is about 2 to 3 pages long. I usually read maybe 3 paragraphs when we do it the day that we do picture study. And we just slowly go through and read about his life. So we're going to be doing Van Gogh this semester. So those are the 3 new things we're going to be looping through on morning time. We'll still do our daily things, which are Bible reading, memory work, and current events. In our afternoon read aloud time, I like to have a book that I am reading to our younger kids and a book that I'm reading to the older kids. So for the younger kids this year, my mom gave me this beautiful book. I am really excited about it. It's called Little Pilgrim's Progress. And if you look in this book, the illustrations are just adorable. I had another book picked out to read to my younger kids, but when I got this for Christmas, I quickly changed my mind because this just looks like an excellent read. So I will be reading this to my younger kids. Secondly, for read aloud time, when I read to the older kids, I have 2 books that I am looking at reading, and maybe we'll get through both of them. You can drop your comments and suggestions if you like, but I have not picked which one we're gonna do. I'll probably be asking the kids what they would like me to do. The books are as different as can be. The first book is Number the Stars. This is one that is so well known and is just an excellent read from what I've heard. But believe it or not, I have not read this or read it to my kids. This is the story of 10-year-old Anne-Marie during the years of World War II. And it just follows some of the German occupation and some of the things that she went through during that time. And I've always wanted to read this and just never have. So this is one that we're thinking about. The other one is Men of Iron. This one is one that my oldest son has read and I have read, and it is excellent. I love Howard Pyle. He's the author. He wrote Robin Hood. He wrote Otto of the Silver Hand, if you're familiar with either of those books. He is a little bit more difficult to read, and so for that reason, I think he would be a great read aloud. Whenever I have a book that's a little bit more challenging, I like to read it aloud, especially to some of my kids that aren't natural readers. So Howard Pyle, this is a story that takes place during the Middle Ages, so complete different time period, but I've always loved his writing. So it's pretty much between these two books for my older kids, and I'll probably be asking them what they would like to do. So these are our homeschool plans for 2023, and I would love to know what you all have planned in your homeschool. I think the more we share ideas and different things that we're into, it just kind of generates some excitement and enthusiasm and even gives other people ideas. I know I have often seen something last minute that I really liked and totally changed our plans and just went with that. So if you have something that you're excited about that you're doing in your homeschool in the new year, would you please comment below and let us know. Thanks for listening in. I hope your homeschool year is off to a great start.